Hi, everybody.
Once again, Tony, we are ready.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to It May Interest You to Know. I'm Tony Marcolini. I'm joined today with my co-host, John Hartman, Marti Mongiello, and a very special guest, director Jodi Binstock. So let's go. Welcome back, everyone. We're joined today with Emmy-nominated director Jodi Binstock. Welcome, Jodi.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Great. I think we really wanted to bring you on today because I think you represent a group of women who are unnoticed female directors in the entertainment industry. You are one of the few that have led a monstrously successful career. And we were hoping that you talk to us a little bit today about your career, your projects, and also about being a woman in what I consider to be an almost male-dominated area.
Not almost, largely.
Yeah, fair enough. Very true. So that's why I thought it was really important to get you here to talk. But if we could hit some of your projects first, I'd love to do that.
Sure.
I think web therapy was a favorite of mine, probably a favorite of most of the audience. You got to work with Lisa Kudrow from Friends. What was that like?
That was remarkable. That was a very unique project that we worked on. Lisa Kudrow and Don Roos and Dan Bukatinsky, a triumvirate of extraordinarily talented people, had a concept, and this was before anybody had done any web series at all. We were one of the first, I think maybe the second or third of all web series, and certainly the most star-studded. And their idea was that we would do it at like a video chat. And when we started, it was brand new, and no one had done anything like that. And we were originally going to shoot it using video webcams, which nowadays everybody is completely used to, thanks to COVID. But then nobody knew anything about it. And so, but the quality of the cameras wasn't nearly good enough. And so we ended up shooting it in a very unique way. We actually designed it so that Lisa would be in one set and the other talent would be in another set. We started off in our studio, in our offices in West Hollywood, the first season, shot everything in the offices. And then when we got a second season and a third and a fourth, and by the third season, Showtime picked it up to be a half hour. And that's when we reconfigured everything and put it into half-hour format as opposed to web series format. So it was a very unique conceit from the very beginning. And of course, it was because of Lisa's great renown in the world that we were able to get some of the celebrities that we got, which was just incredible. You know, working with people like Lily Tomlin and Billy Crystal and Meryl Streep. I mean, it's as good as it gets in this business.
For sure. I mean, and you're kind of credited with, I think, launching the format. Like you said before that, there really wasn't much by way of web series. And I think your series proved that it could be successful. I mean, I think you won a bunch of awards for it. You're nominated at a minimum, but I know that.
Yes, we were nominated for an Emmy. We didn't win it, but we should have.
But should have.
Yeah, exactly. But yes, it was absolutely remarkable. And the incredible thing about it was that Don and Dan and Lisa would arc the stories. So the actors that came in would come in for one morning or one afternoon, and we shot the entire web series, which was like, I don't know if I remember right, it was 15 webisodes, about 7-8 minutes each, and we would shoot one actor in the morning and one actor in the afternoon, and we would do that for an entire weekend because getting these people's time was incredible. But we really took the limitations of what we had, which was we had a gorgeous sets, which was were designed by someone named Lauren Fleming, and they would sit at one camera like we're doing right now, and they would improvise the entire thing. So the storylines would be arced, but they knew where they had to hit, the points they had to hit, the tent poles. And they had to start here, they had to end there, but how they got there was completely improvisation.
Wow.
So that was remarkable watching these actors do that kind of thing.
That's pretty impressive.
In terms of just doing a great job and expected to come from them. I mean, who were you most impressed by?
I was impressed by so many. I mean, because improv is not easy, and a lot of people are not very comfortable with improv because you're kind of left there holding the bag.
Wow.
But I mean, you know, Meryl Streep, I never would have expected her to be that savvy at improv, but she was incredible. I remember she came in, she had some ideas that were rolling around in her head. And she, sorry, my dog's barking. And
that's
she,
okay. We love dogs.
She came into the set and she pulled an electrician aside and said, "Let me ask you a question," and asked him a question about electricity, and then incorporated it into her improv later in the piece.
That's good.
She was incredible. I mean, all the friends were incredible. David Schwimmer was remarkable, playing a completely different character than you've ever seen him play. Billy Crystal, as you can imagine, was as good as they get. But I think, you know, next to Lisa and Dan Bukatinsky, who are improv aficionados, Lily Tomlin, what she brought time and time again, because she played a consistent character throughout it. She played the mother of Lisa Kudrow. And so she came in season after season, and the wigs that she would bring and the props that she would bring, she was incredible. She was just
wow,
and such a doll to work with. Really such a doll to work with.
Well, and let's talk about moving from there. I mean, you got a lot of notoriety, I think, from Z Nation as well.
Yeah, who'd have ever thought that I'd have been the zombie queen? But there you go.
I didn't want to say it. But.
Well, and it just goes to show, you know, kind of riffing off of what you said earlier about females and female directors. You know, one of the hardest things for female directors is getting the opportunity to do action, because, you know, people think that women, all they can direct are emotional or maybe comedy. But to be able to do an action piece is, you just never get the chance. And with Z Nation, I was able to do, you know, great action scenes, and what a fun playground to play in. You know, that I would have never imagined that would have been something in my career path, but you take what presents itself to you. Sure. And
did you have
I love me some zombies now.
Yeah. Everybody pretty much does. It's a theme in a lot of entertainment that's out today. But I think that Z Nation was one of the, again, front runners. I think you're always ahead of yourself. You're blazing paths everywhere.
Yeah, thanks.
Did you have to convince somebody to let you direct, or was that just a given that you were going to direct?
No, it was not a given. It's never a given, sadly. But so the way that came to pass was, and this is kind of a, you know, kind of also riffing off of your thing about women in the industry. Early in my career, I got the Disney Directing Fellowship, which was a very coveted thing that only 2 women got a year. And
that led to Boy Meets World, right?
That's right. It was to do multi-camera, which is very different than single camera. It's more proscenium, more like a stage play, and the directors don't have as much creative flexibility in multi-camera unless you're Jimmy Burrows or, you know, some of the biggest ones, Pam Fryman. But it's done on a proscenium, and there's 4 cameras that are staged, and you just switch between the cameras, and go from set to set to set. In single camera, you know, the camera's always moving, and the camera is what directs your eye more than the actors and the script necessarily. And not, it's always the script, always the script. Let me start with that. So the multi-camera stuff was a real, you know, different opportunity for me, and it was certainly my foray into what I thought would be, you know, a very burgeoning directorial career. I got pregnant right while I was doing Boy Meets World, and after I had my daughter, came back into the business, and the door had shut on multi-camera. It was a weird time. It was right when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire came in, and they started replacing all of the a lot of sitcoms with nightly game shows. And so the market dried up a lot, and it was typically only the heavy duty players that got opportunities there. So aside from having my daughter, it also pulled me out of the market for a while. And that's a whole other conversation we can have. How do you have it all? Because I was a single mother.
Yeah. And that's an important conversation.
Yeah, that's, you know, it was a tricky thing to figure out in a career. And I made the choice to raise my daughter for the first few years because I didn't want a nanny doing it. And
Sure.
I made the best decision in my life. She just graduated last night from Chapman University in creative producing, and she's going to go on and kill it. And it's my, thank you very much. It was pretty sublime. And I got to, you know, one thing that I do feel is that all of the glass ceilings that I've bloodied my head on over the years, at least she won't have that in her career. And so, you know, it was worth it. It was worth it.
That's right.
So that's sort of how my career segued, as I went from doing Boy Meets World, and then my very good friend Dan Bukatinsky and Don Roos, who I ended up doing web therapy with, I said to them, you know, you get pigeonholed, guys. I can't seem to get out of the multicam universe. And Dan had this idea of, he had seen a play called Call Waiting, starring Caroline Aaron. And he thought it would make an incredible, very unique movie. So we set out to make a feature film. But what was unique about it was that there's only one actress in the entire movie. And this was, you know, a good 15 years ago or more. And the movie did incredibly well. We created a second character. Typically when you're writing something that is a play and you want to open it up to be more filmic, what you do is you go to, in this case, it was somebody who was on the phone all the time. You would go to whoever she's on the phone with, and that's how you'd open it up. But we didn't want to do that. We wanted to keep it very similar to a one-woman piece, tour de force piece. And so what we did is we opened it up to another character, the actor playing the character. And it was really amazing. And Caroline Aaron, who now you know from The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, she plays Joel Maisel's mom, the husband's mom.
Sure.
Anyway, so long story short, the movie did incredibly at film festivals. We won Santa Barbara, which is a very, very big one. And we won several others. And that and a subway token to get you uptown. Because nobody knew what to do with it. It was a movie written by women, directed by a woman, starring a woman, and it was a one-woman piece. And there were no distributors that knew what the hell to do with it. So it sat in my drawer for a very long time with all these accolades and all these awards.
Wow.
Come COVID time, and they were looking for more projects, you know, because there was a dearth in the marketplace. And because of Caroline's renown now, she, Amazon published it and put it on as an Amazon Prime movie. So all these years later, it finally saw the light of day. It's called Call Waiting, and you can see it on Amazon Prime.
Director's cut.
What's that?
Did you release it as a director's cut? Just
well, it kind of was my cut, period. Because it was one of those indie ones where you kind of do everything.
that's all.
No,
Well,
Glenn Garland edited it.
That's really
Glenn
cool.
Garland edited it, but it definitely is the director's cut for sure.
I wanted to ask you about that. How long have you lived out there now?
Well, I started off in New York and was there for 12 years, and I've been out here for 20 something. Yeah. So quite a while, 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I worked out there for Kathleen Marshall for a while, and she was just wonderful, magical lady.
Yeah, I'll bet. I've heard wonderful things.
Sorry,
about her.
yeah. So Kathleen, I'll call her Kathleen Marshall, but Kathy Kennedy. But I wanted to ask you, like, what are your opinions about what you've seen with Harvey Weinstein's casting couch being removed from The Element, and that's not a requirement to get a part anymore, all the way up to, now we have other methods of distribution and we don't have to beg studios, to pick us up. What have you seen over you're talking about like 30, 36 years even in this business. What are your opinions on these items?
Well, there are a bunch of different items there. I mean, I think that the Time's Up was really the clincher. I mean, it was definitely the Me Too movement and everybody piping up and saying, you can't do this anymore. What that did was
times.
Right. And what that did was, for the first time in my career, suddenly people were open to women for the first time, because there was a comeuppance, and it was, I don't know if you've seen that documentary that they did through Gina Davis's company. What's it called? They just released it on Netflix last week.
Oh gosh, I'll be on the prowl for it. That'll be.
Yeah, it's about women. It's called. This Changes Everything. That's the name of it. This Changes Everything. And it's really a remarkable study of specifically female directors and the trajectory that we've had to go through. And I think it's Time's Up more than Me Too. It's like, finally, it's our time.
Yes, Time's Up is very organized. I get their newsletter every week. They have a lot of stuff going on. We just went into our second executive director, which was a major change. But still the focus is on very aggressive, holding people accountable, predominantly men, to put them in orange suits with cuffs and shackles, which is where they belong when they're disgusting.
Agreed.
Yeah. I've donated several times, and every penny of it was worth it to see another clown in an orange suit, hobble in to the courtroom because you really can't walk correctly.
It's called the frog walk.
The frog. John's a criminal attorney, Jodi, so he would know.
Okay. Good to know. I'm putting that in my book in case I need you someday.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not is right.
Realistically, do you have to live in LA if you really want to do well in the business, or can you do it from Indiana or from Missouri?
Well, it's a very interesting question, because you do have to, if you live in LA, you get more opportunities to network, and this business is about networking, period. It's about, staying in people's faces and staying relevant and staying current. And when you live elsewhere, it's harder to do that. However, there are now new hubs like Atlanta. I mean, if you're in Atlanta right now, you're in the heart of it. Really? Because there is so much production, almost as much production going on there as there is in LA or New York. Same with Vancouver. So there are new hubs that allow you the same opportunities to, you know, rub elbows with people and, you know, chat people up and stuff like that.
You did a Christmas movie, I want to say, for Lifetime, maybe Snow Globe Christmas. Did you do
That's
that?
right.
Did you do that in Vancouver? I don't know.
No. Funny you should ask that, because, well, you probably haven't seen the movie, but
I did see the movie, but I don't know why I was connecting it to Vancouver.
Well, the irony of that was that was done. That was my first foray back into directing after I took about a 10-year hiatus to raise my kid. And the people at the Global Asylum, who are the Sharknado people, are the ones that that gave me my first opportunity to direct again. I'll always be grateful to them for that. But they also do extraordinarily low budget stuff. And this was one of those. So we had to make Christmas in Saugus, California, in the middle of Santa Clarita, in August. And we were sweating bullets. And I think our art department budget was like $6,000, which is typically what, you know, a morning costs on a television show in an art department. And so we couldn't turn the camera around because we would have to snow the entire background. So we had to shoot everything into buildings and snow just what was around it. It was crazy. That was crazy. But that was a wonderful experience with Donald Faison and Alicia Witt. And it was great. We had a great time doing it. It was very fun.
Sure. I remember you had, I think, a YouTuber. Our handle, I want to say.
That's right.
Brizzy, maybe Brizzy Voices.
Yeah. Anna Brisbane.
That's right. And that's
How
the
did you
first,
know her?
You know, she did a project, Surviving Sam. She was going to come on to a project of mine briefly. So we were connected through that. And I knew she was coming out in the movie, which made me watch it.
How funny.
Yeah, which then ultimately led me to be familiar with your work.
That's so interesting that's the way you found me.
Yeah, because she has a very small part in the movie, but I mean,
well, and it was her very first acting thing,
right?
And we had a great time. She was terrific. She was just terrific.
Yeah, well, she definitely praised you a lot, and I mean, it caused me to check the movie out, and I said, "Wow, this is really well done." And then you very seldom hear of female directors, so I think that's another reason I was drawn to you and following your career, which of course I have since then.
Well, right on. Thank you, Tony.
And that's a big reason we wanted you here, because I think you exemplify that for other women who maybe want to get into directing. It's no longer the impossible task.
It's still pretty tough. It's still pretty tough. And right now in the climate, I'm sorry, what were you going to ask?
I just hypothetical. There's a woman just graduated from Rutgers, English major, has some ability, but she has absolutely no contacts. What advice would you give this generic person about how they can proceed if they want to get into directing and be, successful, make a living?
Has she ever directed before?
No, just graduated from college, has a degree, and can write, but that's really the extent of it. What should she do?
Well, writing wise, I mean, it all starts with the script. If you're the thing about filmmaking is that it is a collaborative sport. It is a team sport. It's not an individual. The thing about writing is you can write by yourself. You can write in your own home. And, when you're a painter, you can paint. But filmmakers require a ton of other people. Between the director of photography, even the most minimal crew, you've got to have a sound person, you've got to have a lighting person. And the way, film schools are obviously a way to do that. And they have some film schools that are not universities. I think there's something called the New York Film Academy and things like that. And the value of those kind of programs is twofold. One is you get a crew to work with. And the other thing is you get a crew to work with, meaning those people then go on and do more things in the industry. And as I just mentioned, it's all about contacts and all about who you know and who the people know. And so that would be my biggest recommendation, is to get into one of those things. And you got to make a movie. You know, you got to, if you want to direct, you got to direct. My friend Michael Goy, who's a very well-known director and cinematographer, and he shot several of my things. As a matter of fact, he was the one that was so instrumental when I did Call Waiting, and saying, you know, Jodi, stop talking about making a movie and go out and make a movie. Just do it. Don't take no for an answer, which I'm still living by his axiom in this, even at this point in my career, because you're only as good as the last thing you did. You're only as, you know, memorable as the last thing you did. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
So, I mean, unfortunately, we're out of time, which I regret that we don't get to spend more time with you. I think we all had so many questions still to go. I hope that
I just want to ask her, Tony, is there a plug for what she's working on right now?
Thank you for asking. Yes, I am working on a movie that I wrote called #SibTrip. And we have 2 of the 4 leads engaged so far, and I'm not allowed to say who they are yet, but my hope is that it will be something that comes out in 2022, if not 2023. So it's a feature film. It's a poignant comedy. I'll give you the log line. It's the story of an 18-year-old who keeps getting Instagram pings from her biological sibling that she comes to discover is her sibling because of her anonymous sperm donor father. And they meet, and they're like oil and water, and oil convinces water to go on a road trip to meet their biological father. And they get in the car and go, and the mothers find out and they follow.
Oh boy.
So it's a double buddy road trip movie. There's the log line. You put it up. Thank you
I
very
did
much.
pretty good with that, huh?
That's impressive.
Kathy
I love that.
Kathy used to kill me. She's like, Marty, when Steven fired me, it was horrific. I was the crappiest PA. I could not type anything that he had said or write it down correctly. And then later on, I come back, and now, of course, you know, her and Steven are like this, but she's like, I had to be terminated and thrown out. So,
well, I hope you'll come back and talk about the movie when it gets a little further along. And
God's ear.
Good, because we look forward to talking to you again. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Good luck with everything, y'all.
Thank you so much.
All right.
You guys be good.